Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Everton Show. Coming up, we'll be reflecting on the 225th Merseyside derby. Should we have taken maximum points? I certainly think so. I'm sure most of you do as well. Here's what we've got for you this week.
I thought there were colossal performances from Ross, from the partnership in midfield, Gareth Barry and James McCarthy. You look at the back four, Phil Jagielka, that I don't think he never gets the credit that he deserves.
Credit to my teammates, I work hard every single day in training and they keep me on my toes as well. But as a player, I want to improve and I want to help my teammates win the game. And today it didn't work, but I would work harder to win the next game for myself.
Yeah, you look back, you see the kids and that coming through and you think you remember from when you were that age, and that's good to see. I think it'll be my first time on the top row, so I'm happy with that.
Seeing a goal in the Gladys Street on Derby Day, every American leaves happy after that, and it's always great to make new friends and see our old friends here in Liverpool.
Radio City Talk 105.9 is a very, very popular station in this area. We've got tens of thousands of Evertonians in the area, and it's just another way that we can engage with our supporters. We've got all that and plenty more on this week's Everton Show, and all in the charming company of the Diamond. Good evening to you, Graham Stewart. Do you agree? Should we have beaten Liverpool?
I think so, Darren. I think we were the side that deserved to win the game. I think we were the side that was only ever going to win the game. Some really good chances, especially in that first half. Simon Mignolet makes two amazing saves, really. And, those two chances go in on another day.
Our defence was rock solid as well, wasn't it?
It was. I thought it was really, really good. And that's got to be pleasing for the manager because you've got two young fullbacks in Tyus Browning and Brendan Galloway. Morez comes in as well, doesn't he, alongside Jags. Jags sees him through nicely. Rock solid defensive display. I was very impressed with them.
Well, the majority of Evertonians at the end of the game really did consider it 2 points lost, and I'm sure most Evertonians will look back on that 225th Merseyside derby and see it very much as a missed opportunity. Simon Mignolet was undoubtedly the busier of the two goalkeepers, and after the game, Roberto Martinez confirmed that he too thought we'd done enough to win it.
Well, probably, yeah. I think there are too many positive out of the performance just to focus on the scoreline. Obviously, we wanted to get the 3 points, but you're looking at the way that we reacted to going one goal down. It's always disappointing when you concede from a dead ball situation. But I thought you're looking at some debuts in the derby atmosphere for young Tyus Browning and young Brendan Galloway. I thought they were magnificent, and I think they are the example of what we are as a football club. And then the second half, I thought we always carried the threat. Every time we were going forward, it looked like that we could score. We scored from open play in the first half, and then there are key moments in the game that probably we didn't get that little bit of a break, but as a whole, as a performance, as every aspect that we could affect was very pleasing in the way that we reacted and in the way that we always carried that threat and looked like that we could have got that winning goal.
How impressed were you with the way Ross Barkley sort of took control of the game in such a big occasion?
Well, I wasn't impressed because I know that he can do that with ease, and I think it's in part of his makeup. I thought there were colossal performances from Ross, from the partnership in midfield, Gareth Barry and James McCarthy. You look at the back four, Phil Jagielka, that I don't think he never gets the credit that he deserves. Him and Tim Howard, they hold a very inexperienced back four against a difficult tactical challenge, if you want, to see that back four working as a unit as well as we did. It was very impressive. I think it was important to see everyone working hard and looking like a very strong unit. From Gerard Deulofeu work, and then Aaron Lennon comes on, and you get an addition all the time. There is a real strength in our squad. Romelu Lukaku, his hold-up play was outstanding, and he brings always that key moment to score the goal. And it was unfortunate. I thought a couple of chances that we could have had a little bit more of look in the 18-yard boxes. Maybe we could have got the overall feeling of getting that moment for the winning goal, because we stopped Liverpool really, really well, and to concede a goal from that ball situation probably is the only disappointment that we keep with us. And obviously the second yellow to Lucas Leiva is a key moment. There's 50 minutes left in the game, in a game that the energy levels are starting to get tested. I didn't understand that decision.
Graham, Roberto there in his interview said that Phil Jagielka doesn't get the credit he deserves, and it's about time that he did.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think we've been banging, Jags' drum for a while here, Darren, because I think I always look back at that QPR game last season when we really needed a captain's performance, and Jag stood up and he was really put his head above the parapet there, and I thought he was outstanding from that moment on, and I can't remember him having a bad game since. And when you've got an inexperienced, 3 players alongside you, in a big derby game like that, I think it speaks volumes for his captaincy and his capability as a player as well, that he came through that with shining colours.
Ramiro Funes Mori, you could tell that he's played in big games before because he was totally unfazed, wasn't he, by the Merseyside derby?
No, he was. I mean, he's had great experience out in South America with River Plate, big derby games out there, which he's gone on record as talking about, and he felt that set him up nicely for the derby. And I think he grew into the game. The longer the game went on, the more comfortable he looked, the more confident he looked. So I think we've got a real player on our hands there.
James McCarthy and Gareth Barry didn't make many headlines the following day, but they were everywhere, and you need players like that in the white-hot atmosphere of a Merseyside derby.
You do. I thought Gareth Barry was the outstanding player on the pitch. I thought he was the most composed player on the day. The pair of them together, they snubbed out the threat of Coutinho. I honestly felt that Coutinho and Sturridge would be the 2 players that if we kept quiet, we had a real chance of winning the game. And great credit goes to James and Gareth there, because they kept Coutinho quiet. Subsequently, Daniel Sturridge is relatively quiet as well, and well subdued by our back 4.
We deserved to win the game. I think we've established that, but we didn't win the game. And that's now 11 Merseyside derbies. What do you think about people who say, have we got a mental block when we play Liverpool?
I just think it's an excuse a good excuse to come up with. I mean, I've never really looked into things like that and the psychology of it all. I just think that, you go out there on any given day and expect to win the game.
Well, Romelu Lukaku certainly continued his rich vein of goal-scoring form, didn't he, by grabbing the equaliser against Liverpool. And the big man was a constant threat all afternoon, one of his best displays in the royal blue jersey for me. After the game, he was pleased to have found the net for the 3rd time in a Merseyside derby, but he was disappointed not to have been on the winning side.
I think every player wants to win, and I think if there was a team to win today, if there would be a team to win today, it would be us, because we controlled the game. Also, in the first and second half, Minolet did very good saves, credit to him, but I think at some point we should have kept more composure in possession. But it was a good battle, a good game for the fans as well, so it's promising.
Were they the better side first half? Did the team need your goal when it came?
Really, conceding goal just before half-time is difficult, but fortunately we were lucky enough to score, and it was promising. Gave us a boost for the second half, and then in the second half we dominated the game, but we didn't had the shots like we did in the first half, which was a bit disappointing, but I think it's still promising for the next games.
You got another goal, your 7th of the season. Couple of chances maybe to win it as well?
Yeah, I think so as well. But it's something that I need to work on. I try to give my best, and today I had another good game, and I want to keep going like that.
You feel like you're playing very consistently at the moment. Gave the Liverpool defence a real hard game today.
Yeah. But credit to my teammates. I work hard every single day in training, and they keep me on my toes as well. But as a player, I want to improve, and I want to help my teammates win the game. And today it didn't work, but I will work harder to win the next game for my team.
Lastly, what happened with you and Sacco at the end? It seemed to be something out of nothing.
Yeah, it's just a little shove in a challenge, but we are 2 competitors, and I think that's what people like to see.
All friends again now?
Yeah, definitely.
The programme cover worked again, Graham. Stephen Naismith on the front cover against Chelsea, scores a hat-trick. Big Rom on the front cover against Liverpool. And I thought Big Rom was smashing.
He was terrific, especially in the first half as well. We led the line as we'd like to see our centre-forward lead it. Aggressive, plenty of pace about him, plenty of aggression about him as well. His hold-up play was very good, and he was always a threat. And on top of that, he scores the equaliser as well.
There was a little bit of pinball inside the Liverpool penalty area when Jerry crossed the ball from the right-hand side, but it was still a good finish from Romelu.
It was a good finish, yeah. I mean, he didn't have time really to think about it too much, but his connection on the ball, as ever, was very, very good. It's very rare you don't see him have a clean strike of the ball, Romelu, and great credit to him. He is a top-class finisher.
He's still a young man in the Premier League, but they're the standards he could reach week in, week out.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think we've gone on record before as saying that we think, as in his general play, there's more to come from Romelu. No one's questioning his goal-scoring capability because his record stands up to anybody in Europe, really, at his age. So, there's no problem with that issue. But as in his general play, he can do more, and I'm sure he will do more in games to come, because when he plays like he did, especially in that first half, as I mentioned, he's a threat, a real threat.
Should Liverpool have ended that game with 10 men, Graham?
Yep, no doubt about it. Lucas Leiva has to go. He's on a yellow card already. It's a clear trip. takes away the attacking opportunity that we were about to create. And I think he was a very fortunate boy to get away with it.
One or two baffling decisions on the day.
To say the least. Yeah, to say the least. It was unfortunate, really. I thought he had an average game at best, Martin Atkinson. I thought there was a bit of inconsistency flying around with, some of the free kicks he gave. The ball was the ball rolling and stuff like that. We seemed to get the bad ones, and then he lets Liverpool get away with one, deep in the second half. I was mystified, shall we say.
Well, there's always talking points, isn't there, in the Merseyside derby. It wouldn't be a Merseyside derby if we weren't assessing the referee's performance after it. And that's just about it for part one of this week's Everton show, and that's pretty much the Merseyside derby well and truly dissected. All we can do now with regards to the bragging rights in the city is wait for the return fixture at Anfield at the end of February 2016. That won't be long either. Who'll be on the front cover of that programme that day? Who'll be in the home dugout? We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to part two of this week's Everton show. In this section of the programme, we like to go behind the scenes, away from the field of play, if you like, and have a look at what the rest of the football club has been up to. Graham Stewart, it's been a busy few weeks again, hasn't it, for you and the Ambassadors? It
has, yes. Enjoyable few weeks as well. We've had our friends and sponsors Chang over, so we've looked after them and entertained them. It's always great to see the Chang lads over. They're a terrific bunch. So we've done some tours for them. We've had lunches, dinners, etc., and basically just made a fuss of them, as we quite rightly should do. We've done tours for the clubs, the supporters club branches as well. We've done a night each at Finch Farm, showing them around the terrific facilities we have at Finch Farm.
They enjoy that, don't they?
They do enjoy that, yeah.
It's a bit of insight for them, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. A nice insight to see what goes on behind the scenes. And we finished it all off with our senior supporters were invited to a tea party at Goodison Park. I enjoyed that. You enjoyed them, Daz, as well, didn't you?
Nothing like a spot of afternoon tea with our senior supporters. It really is a lovely afternoon. Well, this coming Saturday is World Mental Health Day, and as you'd expect, Everton in the community will be at the forefront of local events. The club's official charity is very much involved in mental health issues, leading the way. In fact, you'd expect nothing else. And this lovely piece of film will illustrate that far better than I can.
I started on the railway in 1970, trainee train driver, then became train driver, then an inspector, then I became a manager. I suddenly just shut down one day. I found myself at home and I thought, where am I? And the wife said, what's wrong with you? And I said, I don't know. She took me to the doctor and the doctor said, I think he's had a breakdown. I got treated for bipolar for a year, which is the worst thing that ever happened in my life because they were giving you lithium and it shuts you down and you lose your ability to speak. My wife was saying, he hasn't got bipolar. She kept fighting, saying, he hasn't got bipolar. I got to see a psychiatrist and he says, good news is you haven't got bipolar. The bad news is you've young onset dementia, Alzheimer's. And it just felt as if your whole world had collapsed. I found out you get this superpower when you get dementia. You can go into a room full of people. They'll talk around you, about you, and over you. So you've got the ability to become invisible. And it used to be the loneliest place in the world because no one had taught you. I go to this meeting, the first meeting, and they start talking about what it's like living with dementia and how people with dementia feel. I said, what you're saying is nothing like what it's like to have dementia. So I explained what it was like from my point of view and what it was like to actually have dementia. Chris Clark and Henry Mooney were there from Everton in the community. He said, we've started a new group, will you come and do a little talk there? I went down, did the talk, and then Henry Mooney said, do you want to come every week? And I thought, somewhere to go every week, because there was nothing. I started coming to Everton in the community, pass on the memories, started getting my confidence back again. This group has actually saved my life. It's made my life, it is my life. When you were stuck in the house in one little chair, you come out and then you become friends and then you become a community. I've learned how to use iPads and these are new skills that people have learned. So instead of being lonely there and that, you can keep in contact with the family all the time. They always say, you're suffering with Alzheimer's. Well, there's no physical pain whatsoever with dementia. But people always insist that you're suffering with dementia, which you're not. I live with dementia, and I'm living well with dementia now. Pass on the memories is so unique, and everyone looks to Everton in the community. Pass on the memories as the catalyst to what their group should be.
Tell you what, Everton in the community constantly makes us all extremely proud to be blue, doesn't it? And I'm delighted to welcome onto the show Johnny Garside, who is the charity's mental health coordinator. Johnny, that's a lovely piece of film.
It really is. It's an area of the club that we really pride ourselves on, is our community work, and none more so is our mental health work. So it's utilising the power of the brand to really add credence to such a global issue as World Mental Health Day is something that's of real importance to us.
Some people in society have issues that other people wouldn't even think about.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, statistics will tell you 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health problem in their lifetime, and that's only the people that obviously seek help. I'm sure there's a lot more under the radar dealing it with issues in their own way. So, if anything, it's not the minority. There's a lot of people disaffected in this. So, bringing more exposure to it and raising awareness is, in my opinion, only a good thing.
Simply by inviting Tommy along to Goodison Park, Graham, it's turned his life around. It's something as simple as that, but as Johnny says, as powerful.
Well, that's it. I always continue to go on about how powerful our football club is. But on top of that, you've got to have the right people in the right places with the right ideas and initiatives and schemes that people like Johnny, have. And, myself, Sharpie and Snods have had the great pleasure of seeing these at first hand. And, they are terrific events, and it makes a huge change to people's lives. And, long may that continue. And you're quite right, Daz, it makes you very proud to be blue.
There's still a stigma, Johnny, I suppose, attached to mental health, isn't there?
There is, yeah. I mean, that has been passed down from generation to generation, I guess. But I think what we're trying to do now is in the modern society is bring education where there's been myths, and try and dispel that and give an opportunity for people to really know the truth behind what is socially acceptable, or, as I say, stigmas passed down from yesteryear.
I was at an initiative that you were running a few weeks ago, and Adrian Childs was there presenting live for BBC Radio 5. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was an initiative that we run out of Everton in the community called Imagine Your Goals, which is one of our flagship community programmes in partnership with Care NHS Trust. And we launched a new programme based at Clockview Hospital, which is a psychiatric ward based in the Walton area, Liverpool. So Adrian was there, our guest of honour, to help launch that programme and help bring awareness and exposure to the biophysical and psychosocial benefits of being a part of an exercise programme such as that. It's
all an ongoing process, isn't it? It'll never end.
No, very much so. Recovery, there's no real definitive start or end point from that. People gain strength and momentum right throughout their journey, and we're there every step of the way to help them along.
Yourself and Sharpie and Snods and the first team players and the 21s as well, Graham, constantly visiting Everton in the community initiatives, and we can't speak highly enough.
No, we can't. There's an awful lot of unsung heroes at our football club. Everybody loves match days and watching and talking about the first team, because that's what we all crave, to see the football and have a successful side. But behind the scenes, people like Johnny and numerous other volunteers in and around the football club, behind the scenes do some terrific work, and we're proud of all of them.
Volunteers is the key word, isn't it? They do a terrific job for Everton Football Club, for the love of it and for what they get back out of it themselves.
They really do. They're the lifeblood of everything that we do. We've only got a certain amount of resources and manpower to address the needs locally, but they just offer such an integral part of what we do, being able to branch out even further and help ultimately even more people locally. So massive respect and massive thanks to all of our fantastic volunteers.
You must know as well as anybody the power of that crest on your T-shirt there, Johnny.
Very much so. It gets us into doors and into conversations that it wouldn't have done otherwise. So I think that's the real strength of our community work in partnership with other local agencies, is that we're utilising our power and our exposure to help tackle many societal issues.
As I've said many, many times, we can't speak highly enough of Everton in the community. Right, from the community now to the Everton Academy, and it was Team Photo Day this week down at Finch Farm for the young players. Now, Academy Photo Day is quite unlike any other. Getting the first team players to settle down long enough for their own official group shot is bad enough, believe me. Try it with more than 100 young footballers aged between 6 and 18.
It's almost like a signature for the year. It's a mark in time. So every player has to stay here, and when they're in that picture, then obviously they've achieved that for another season.
I've been since under 7s. I think we started like under 10s or something. So I've been to quite a few. Yeah, it's a good little event, but takes a while, but at the end it's good to see the end product of the big picture like on the wall.
Obviously you see them grow up, don't you, from when they're young boys from under 9. You see them growing up, now they change, and it's when you see them progressing, it's always nice to look back. And when you see people like obviously Ross now doing so well, and Tyus, and they were on these photographs only a couple of years ago.
So we've had quite a lot since we've been here now, and it's long, it takes a long time, you know. It's good, you know, at the end to see the whole academy on one photo.
Yeah, you look back, you see the kids and that coming through, and you remember from when you were that age, and that's good to see. I think it'll be my first time on the top row, so I'm happy with that.
It's fantastic. You know, in my day, probably under 14s, under 15s in the youth team. Now they're all the way down to under 8, under 7. Signed players under 9, so it's great to see them all together here. And obviously it's just nice for them all to get the picture taken in an Everton shirt.
Graham, that's the finished article, all the young players in one team photograph. It looks fantastic. Can you imagine how tough it was to get them to sit still?
I can only imagine. They look angelic, don't they? I mean, I think the biggest problem are the people in white, Daz, to be honest with you.
The staff, exactly.
Yeah.
You look at some players there, Graham, and 6, 7, 8-year-olds that we see down at Finch Farm. Can you coach players like that?
Yeah, you can. You can coach them, but I think first and foremost, I think the coaches encourage the lads to enjoy their football. You know, these are young men. You know, and the first things first, you enjoy your football and you enjoy expressing yourself, and you're encouraged to do your skills and to express yourselves. That's the most important thing. There's an awful long time from 6 years old to making it as a professional footballer, where your body changes, psychologically you change as a person as well. So there's a hell of a long way to go, but we're giving these boys the best chance possible.
It's a full commitment from the parents as well, isn't it? Who've got to get them to the training sessions.
It is, yeah. It's difficult for the parents at times. I mean, we experience marriages that are broken up, so you might have individual parents trying to do right by their kids and stuff like that. So we just try and help out as best we possibly can to get these kids to the coaching sessions and give them every opportunity to express themselves.
Give them every opportunity to pose and sit and stand angelically, as you say, for the official team photograph. A lot of fun down at the academy. Well, that's just about it for part 2 of this week's Everton show. After the break, we'll have our big interview section and hear from the legend, that is Bob Latchford. Welcome back to part 3 of this week's Everton show. Well, the word legend is bandied about in football these days with indecent regularity, in my opinion. Certain players are offered up as legends before they've even mastered their art, but that most certainly does not apply to our big interview guest this week. He's a gentleman, he was certainly a goal scorer, and he'll always be a legend. Back at Goodison Park recently, this is the one and only Bob Latchford.
Oh, it's always, obviously, very happy. Lots of very fond memories, of course, and it's always a great place to come back to.
When you joined Everton in 1974, Howard Kendall went the other way to Birmingham as part of the deal. Did that crank up the pressure on you?
Well, it certainly added to the pressure, obviously, of being a British record transfer fee player, knowing that Howard, really a major legend and top player of Everton, was going in the other way, and they were selling him. So not only obviously with the money, but obviously with Howard, obviously added to the pressure that I was under to produce goals. But fortunately, once I started scoring, I was okay. Things got just naturally fell into place for me.
Billy Bingham, what was he like as a gaffer?
Billy's an intelligent man, very shrewd. Like most managers, he wanted things done his own way. They all do. It wasn't easy to get close to, Billy. He wouldn't let players get too close to him on a personal level. But if you look at Billy's overall record, he had a good overall record, Billy. For one reason or another, as I mentioned in the book, things didn't go well, and he eventually, obviously, ended up leaving.
We recorded a few third and fourth place finishes your time here, and we also reached the final of the League Cup. When you look back at that Everton side, do you think that we should have won something?
We were capable of winning something. People will probably, that old era will probably call us the Neely team, or the Neely men, or whatever, and they're probably right. We were a Neely team. We were capable of it. We needed to have knocked over the first one, which was 74-75 season, and we should have won the league. And we slipped up against Carlisle United, home and away, and lost both times. And if we'd beaten them, we would have won the league by 1 point. But irrespective of that, I believe, again, it's in the book, Sheffield United, towards the end of the season, maybe the third last game at home, we lost to them at home. And if we'd beaten them, we still would have won the league. So we had chances right throughout the last 2 or 3 months to have really knocked it over and to have won the championship. And I firmly believe if we had knocked over that first one, the others would have followed. But we couldn't knock over that first one, and the rest became more difficult as time went on.
You didn't play in the 1977 FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool, but you'll have shared the annoyance of everyone else with that Clive Thomas decision.
Yeah. Clive Thomas is Clive Thomas, unfortunately. And we were just unfortunate that he was the referee that day. But to be honest, he robbed us of a final spot, basically. There's no two ways around it. It was a poor decision. He will never admit it was a poor decision because he always believes he's always made the right decision, Clive. That's the man, that's his ego. But obviously from my point of view and a lot of the other players and the fans, it was a poor decision, which robbed us of a chance to have played against Man United, who had beaten about a month or two earlier. And I think we would have beaten at Wembley that day. So.
Let's talk about that 30-goal season. It's common knowledge that you earned a £10,000 prize from the Daily Express from getting those league goals, but what's not widely known is that you didn't see all that much of it.
No, I didn't. I only got 5,000 because 5,000 was split between the Football League and the PFA. Then it became a process then because the taxman got involved, and anyway, it's all in the book for people to read.
Apart from that last one against Chelsea to get the 30 league goals, what was your favourite?
My favourite goal? It's very difficult to pick out one goal. I can never just pick out one goal. There's a number of goals which gave me great satisfaction. The goal against West Ham in the semi-final. My first goal, Everton goal. And obviously other goals, my first England goal, obviously. And things like that. So there's various goals throughout my career which give you great satisfaction.
A number of those were assisted by the right foot of Dave Thomas. What was he like to play with?
I was very fortunate to have played the whole of my career with very good wingers. Birmingham, Everton, Swansea, wherever. But Dave Thomas probably was the best of all those wingers. He was just a super player, 2 great feet. I always say to people about Dave that he could do what Glenn Oddle could do, and Glenn was an absolutely super player, but Tyser, as we used to call him, could do it at speed. The old saying that he could land the ball on a sixpence, and he could. Both feet. He was just a super player and a lovely man.
What was life at Belfield like?
Belfield in its day was really, obviously, one of the best complexes around, I would imagine. It was probably ahead of its time for many clubs. And it was just your day job. You went in there, you got changed, you did your work, and that was it. It's just like any normal job. There's nothing glamorous about that side of it. The glamour only comes out on that pitch. The rest of the time within football, it's a hard slog because it's day in, day out, and you're training for being out there. And that's where the glamour is. It's not all the travelling, it's not all the training, it's just out there. So that's not the glamorous side, that's the hard work side.
You've been down to Finch Farm. It's a bit different, isn't it?
Finch Farm, yes, I was there last season, and it's unbelievably totally different to obviously to Belfield. So yeah, it's a terrific setup, complex, but I would think most of the Premiership sides have got complexes like that. That's the way the modern game is.
You and big Romelu Lukaku would certainly be a handful for defenders in this day and age. His goal-to-game ratio for Everton's quite similar to yours, and considering he's only 22, what do you make of his development so far?
He's got a lot of potential. He could develop it into a really very, very good striker. Obviously, potential and fulfilling potential is, two different things, but he has the ability. Obviously, he's still learning. He's still young. I think he just maybe needs to get more consistency into his game. And if he gets more consistency, plus maybe protecting the ball better, because at times when he's with his back to goal, he loses possession maybe a little bit too easily. But he can develop that side of his game and obviously improve more consistently. He could turn out to be obviously one of the top strikers in the Premiership.
A great goal scorer, an Evertonian legend, and you've met him many times. He's a lovely guy, Bob.
He is a real gentleman. Yeah, lovely guy. Very interesting guy to talk to as well, because he's got such a great presence about him, and clearly done wonders for Everton over the years, and is held in high esteem by everybody around Goodison Park.
He gave us hope, us kids of the 70s. He gave us hope where there was none, Big Bob, because it was Liverpool's decade, let's be honest. But Bob Latchford scoring those 30 goals was something for us to cheer about, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, Evertonians love their number 9s or their centre forwards, and we've been privileged to have a lot of very, very good ones over the years, and Bob's certainly up there amongst the elite. There's no doubt about that, Daz.
It's certainly an art, isn't it, putting the ball in the back of the net?
It is. That's why they get paid the most money. That's why they cost the most for clubs to buy, because it's the hardest thing in the game to put the ball in the back of the net. So there's huge amounts of pressure on you as well. You're a midfield player. You can, steal the odd goal, but if your general performance is good and you can stop the opposition playing or create chances, then you've got plenty of strings to your bow. Ultimately, as a centre forward, you get judged on how many times you hit the back of the net.
And you're relying on good service, aren't you, a lot of the time?
Well, you are. Yeah, there's definitely that to be said. I mean, Bob alluded to it there in his interview. He was fortunate and felt he was fortunate to play with a lot of very good wingers. So yeah, a lot to be thankful for.
If you're a Premier League footballer, Graham, you've played in the Premier League yourself, you're playing at the top level, so you've clearly got bags and bags of ability. Why can some people put the ball in the back of the net better than others?
Because they've got ice running through their veins at the right time, Daz, because, in the heat of the moment, when the pressure's on and the ball's coming into the box, some people are calm and measured. Some people have a rush of blood to the head. And the centre forwards, we've seen them up and down the years, they're the ones who are nice and calm and there's ice running through their veins, and they pick their spot and put it in the back of the net.
I must ask Snods that same question.
I was going to say, it's fortunate you're talking to me, Daz, because if you were talking to Snods on any given week, it wouldn't be a very long conversation.
Who are the best goal scorers you've played with?
Oh, well, growing up, I mean, the one who stands out a million miles to me was Kerry Dixon. Kerry was a wonderful finisher. He had a good partnership with David Speedy. And it was funny because actually David Speedy was the smaller one, but he used to flick the balls on for Kerry Dixon to score the goals. So growing up, I saw him. Clive Allen, I had the pleasure of playing with Clive Allen. He was a terrific striker.
Always scored against
Everton. Yeah, he did, unfortunately. But and obviously when I came to Everton, Tony Cottee was a terrific goal scorer as well.
Some great goal scorers alongside you, and with good service as well, I'm sure, week in, week out. Well, that nicely wraps up the penultimate part of this week's Everton show, but still plenty more to come after the break. No Premier League action to preview, of course, this weekend, but in part 4, we'll cross the Atlantic and we'll go up the Radio City Tower. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to the fourth and final part of this week's show. Well, the international break this weekend interrupts the Premier League flow, but it's a massive few days for some of the Everton lads, and none more so than young Tom Davies. Look at this, an academy player at Finch Farm who is currently away with the England under-17s, but has been invited over to train with the seniors to make up the numbers. There he is in action with Raheem Sterling. How cool's that, Graham, for a young player?
It's brilliant for him. What an opportunity for him to go and play with his senior players. I mean, I'm sure he'll be delighted that he's got Ross and Jags alongside him there in training, but what a learning curve that must be to play alongside the senior England squad.
Good idea by Roy Hodgson, that, isn't it, to bring a couple of the young boys over, the really young boys over?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. I mean, clearly, you know, Tom's been sought out and they recognise that he's a prestigious young talent and they feel that he's, you know, worth his place alongside some of these big hitters.
At St George's Park, and of course, back in your day, it was Lilleshall, and you were one of the first few people through, weren't you?
Yeah, well, John Ebrell was in the first take and I was in the second batch of lads that ruined the reputation of the first lad. But no, I mean, that was a slightly different scenario whereby we were bored in there and we used to train every day. Dave Sexton was the main coach there and they used to bring in 6 regional coaches at any given time. And it was really interesting experience, 2 years of my life. And I look back at it, think to myself, well, from 14 to 16, it was a big call for me to go there. But I certainly wouldn't change anything I did. I had some really good coaching there. Dave Sexton was terrific.
I believe so. Former Chelsea manager as well, of course.
Yeah,
did you enjoy your time at Lilleshall?
I did. I genuinely did. There was certainly homesickness to start off with. I mean, at 14 years of age, it was a moving away from London. It was difficult, and you know, that said, there was all kinds of lads there that had come from different parts of the country. So we all had to deal with the homesickness side of things. We were schooled at a local school down in Shifnal. And let's say the locals probably gave us a little bit of a hard time, but there were 16 of us, so we stuck together, and that was good though because it built the team camaraderie between us all. But I certainly enjoyed my time, and as I say, what a grounding that is to have Dave Sexton coaching you every day.
And very quickly, international break this weekend. We just want the players back safe and sound.
Always do, don't we? We always get a little bit panicky, don't we, when they go away? But great experience for them. But please come back fit.
No more injuries, please. Well, I'd like to say a massive thank you, by the way, before we go any further, to everyone who has offered positive feedback about the Everton show. We seem to be going down rather well with the supporters, and that's exactly what it's all about. That's why we're here. We've also been pleased with the response to our official radio show. Myself and one of my ambassador pals present the weekly radio show from the top of the iconic Radio City Tower, and it's a lot of fun.
There's such a clamour for Everton news within the city. The passions run so high, it just seemed the obvious thing to do. It was a natural fit really between the biggest broadcaster in the city and Radio City and of course Everton Football Club, and the fans love it.
Radio City Talk 105.9 is a very, very popular station in this area. We've got tens of thousands of Evertonians in the area, and it's just another way that we can engage with our supporters. The platform is perfect. We come up to the top of the tower every week. It'll be myself and Graham Sharp, or I'll have Snods with me or Graham Stewart, and we always stick to a similar format. It's not a rigid format every week. We'll always look back at the previous game, we look ahead to the next game, and we feature a real variety of guest interviews in between.
Of course, there's been some brilliant guests on there as well, whether it's Bainesy, Jags, big names, and fitting in with the legends as well, Sharpie and Diamond and Snods. It's sort of got its own home, its own feel about it, and it's going from strength to strength. It's great for Radio City to have a product like that.
We've got a great slot as well between 6 and 7 on a Wednesday. A lot of people will listen when they first get home from work, or those with a little bit of a longer journey or have worked a longer day can listen to it in the car on the way back, and it's just attracted really, really positive feedback. We work hard to make sure that the fans appreciate and enjoy what we do, and from the people I've spoken to, they really enjoy listening to the show and they appreciate the effort that we put into it to put it all together and make it as professional as possible.
Graham, when you look at the Radio City Tower in that picture, it's pretty high up, isn't it? But it is a lot of fun when we're up there, isn't it?
It is fun, yeah. Well, unless it's windy, Daz, and it's a little bit lively up there. But an iconic building in Liverpool, yeah, and we do have great fun there going and recording the show, as you mentioned.
Because it's an official Everton show, much the same as this, we can have a little bit of banter, we can push the boundaries a wee bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. We like to be biased on our own radio show and TV show. Why not? So we should be. But no, as you say, it's good fun. Plenty of material. Looking back at the weekend's game, looking forward, as you mentioned, to games coming up, and as we've said, we've since had some really good guests on as well.
You also enjoy the dual commentary, don't you, of the Everton games? Because, again, we have a laugh there.
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's, you know, I know Snods loves it. He feels really at home doing that. And, you know, Sharpie's been doing it for a number of years as well. I've done plenty of it myself, but I keep getting everybody's names wrong this year. I don't know what's got into me. I don't know what it is, but...
We've had Tyus Bramble.
Yeah, Tyus Bramble. Where did that come from?
We've had Justin Rose at Tottenham.
I know, I could be getting the sack soon. But, I mean, you know, Sharpie and Snods are very good. I mean, you know, they're two lads who are home from home at the Radio City Tower. I mean, two lads with ideal faces for radio.
Absolutely. And let's just go back to the Merseyside derby last year when Phil Jagielka scored that goal, and you and I did really well to keep it together. Well, we didn't keep it together, but we've done really well not to lose it completely.
Yeah, I mean, just about hung on, didn't we? But there was cups flying around everywhere. I mean, that was a special moment. That's probably the one outstanding moment from last season doing the commentaries, Daz.
It certainly was. Made it a little bit sweeter that John Aldridge was sitting just behind us as well. Well, just before the break, I promised you that we'd be crossing the Atlantic in part 4. That's not strictly true, because it's more a case of the American Evertonians coming over here to see us. The USA Toffees are an ever-growing band of hugely enthusiastic and passionate blues, and we were more than delighted to welcome them to Goodison Park for the Merseyside Derby weekend.
Seeing a goal in the Gladys Street on Derby Day, every American leaves happy after that, and it's always great to make new friends and see our old friends here in Liverpool. So we had a great time. We always have a great time whenever we visit you guys.
Tell us a bit about Everton USA and this trip that you guys put together.
Everton USA is the supporters network in the U.S. We brought 25 Americans to the Derby. We'll be back in March for the Arsenal match. 5:30 a.m. on the West Coast. You had thousands of people gathered to watch the game. We raised some money for Everton, the community. So we're just, you know, spreading the blues in America as much as we can.
And our trips have been amazingly popular. Everyone loves to come to Liverpool, and if you haven't experienced a game at Goodison, you know, it's been great to give access to Americans who want to do that, and we've sold out every trip, so we've really enjoyed having the Americans come here.
It's not just the games that you guys have got to experience. We've seen you go behind the scenes at Finch Farm.
We took a tour of Goodison and went to Finch Farm and in Snodden, and Diamond gave us a nice tour, and you know, we saw Jimmy Martin, and we've developed a Jimmy Martin drinking game in America, so when you see him on television, you drink. So it was nice to see him yesterday, but the club does is incredible hosts, very hospitable to us, and they go above and beyond.
Yeah, they really do, and we truly understand the concept of the People's Club, and they've done absolutely everything they can, from merchandise discounts to making the tickets available to giving us true VIP tours. Every trip has been more amazing than the last, and you know, we consider you guys all friends now. So it's the EFC family for sure, on either side of the pond.
A Jimmy Martin drinking game.
Yeah, the lads were telling me about that as well. I mean, every time you see Jimmy on the telly, they have to have a drink. So Jimmy being the busy so-and-so that he is, I'm sure there's a few drunken Americans at the time.
I know how they feel. I need a drink when I see Jimmy Martin as well. But their passion for Everton Football Club is brilliant, isn't it?
It is. It's infectious. I mean, David there, I mean, I went on a tour with him the other day. I mean, he could have taken a tour himself. He knows Everton inside out. It's infectious. They're really, really genuine people. They've got a huge love for Everton Football Club as well. And as you said, that, you know, when they come over, we look after them. We treat them with the respect that they deserve, and they clearly all have a wonderful time.
You look at the American players we've had: Brian McBride, Joe Maxmore, Landon was over, Landon Donovan, and now Tim Howard, of course, is here now, who you know very well. They're all great ambassadors for the country, aren't they?
Well, they are. And as I say, it's that word infectious again. There's just something about the Americans. They're so enthusiastic about their football, you know, and they're honest players as well. They've got a good appetite for the game, good work ethic as well, which suits Everton Football Club as well.
They all speak well too, don't they?
They do, yeah. I mean, and they're proud of Everton. They're proud to have played for the football club. I know Tim is a terrific speaker. You know, he goes around and bangs the Everton drum at every opportunity. So, you know, we've been delighted to have some very good American lads.
One or two players coming towards the end of their Premier League careers have crossed the Atlantic to play in the MLS. It obviously wasn't as big, anywhere near as big when you were just winding down your career. But if it was happening to you now, would you consider crossing the pond and having a go in the MLS?
100% I would.
Yeah?
Yeah, without a doubt. I love America as a country. You know, I've been over there plenty of times to various places, and I think it's a terrific country. I think it's clean, it's fresh, the climate's great, And I think the MLS has been waiting to take off for a number of years now. So, you know, for the likes of the Robbie Keanes of this world and you know, people like that, Steven Gerrard, to go over there and have the opportunity to wind down their careers, they'll be delighted with that.
And having been there myself on pre-season tours, I can tell you the facilities are first class as well. It really is a wonderful place to play your football. And that's just about it for this week. The Merseyside derby ended all square. The American Toffees enjoyed a lovely weekend. The Academy group photo just about got done. And Big Bob Latchford confirmed that he's still a terrific guy. And I tell you what, I bet he can still walk on water. From Graham Stewart and myself, we've enjoyed your company again, and we'd love you to join us next week. Have a great weekend.